In this video, I'm going to show you my very favorite 4th of July design and how you can recreate it 100% for free inside of Adobe Spark. What's up, guys? Thanks for clicking on this video. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Nate Hibbert and this is Wingman University, where our goal is to help you start and scale a print-on-demand business. Today, I'm super excited to share with you guys a design layout that I've been using to sell all kinds of 4th of July products for the last 3 years. It's my favorite because it's really simple to create and it can be used with all types of sayings, and you can use it for a ton of different customer bases. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you guys where I got inspiration for this design 3 years ago, and then I'll show you how to recreate it inside of Adobe Spark. So we're starting our screen share today with a little bit of a history lesson here on Google Images. This is Casey Neistat. If you don't know who he is, he's just a very big YouTuber who started a lot of things. He's been a creative inspiration for me for a very long time, back when he was making TV commercials, and that was the career path that I thought I wanted to go down. But he since has become this YouTube phenomenon. And about 3 years ago, he created this hoodie. And this was like the merchandise that he was selling through his YouTube channel. So if we actually go into the store, we might be able to see when this was made. Yeah, the 2017. So it has been 3 years since I took inspiration from this design. So that's what I'll be showing you guys how to recreate inside of Adobe Spark today. But first, we have been doing a lot of 4th of July research lately, and I came across this one, which is "I'm not drunk, I'm patriotic." This is a saying I'll be using, and I already typed this up inside of Adobe Spark. I guess to stick to tradition for this show, though, I will pull this out, split my screen so we can leave our inspiration on the left-hand side here while we're still working on our graphic. We're going to use this saying "I'm not drunk" and kind of fit it in here. And so we're going to go up to our add button here, go into our icons, and I'm going to type in a line because even though I want a rectangle for the lines of the flag, having a line that is the length that we need is going to work best. So before I get this in the place that I want it, let's talk about color for 2 seconds. You can definitely do an all white design on black. I think that looks super clean, and a large number of the products we sell are exactly that colorway. But for this one, we do want to be very patriotic, so we're going to use the red, white, and blue from the American flag. And I actually went ahead and pulled out the exact hex codes for the American red, white, and blue that's supposed to be used on the flag. There are more accurate ways to do this, but for what we're doing today here and for Spark, this is a good way to be more accurate than just choosing a random color. So the way I'm going to insert this hex code, so I want my lines to be red, as I want to take this hex code, I'm going to copy it with the pound sign in there. I'm going to go up to this color, and when we click on it once, it's going to give us the ability to change this color through these settings. If I click here and go to hex code, I can just, I can copy and paste in that hex code. I'm making sure that it only has one hashtag. If it's wrong, it will be red like that. If it's right, it will show you the exact color that it's going to be. We can hit save, and now we have the exact red color for the American flag that we want for our lines. And it just helps to do this at this part of the designing before we even have all these lines duplicated out, because then we don't have to go in and individually select the color for each one of these. Now, when we duplicate this line out, it's going to be the exact color and length that we want it to be, so we can line things up a little bit easier and just save us some time in the end. So I'm going to duplicate this line out one more time to be the very bottom line. I think we're only going to need 3 of them for this design. And the last element that we're going to need is just a square to put up here in the left-hand corner. So I'm going to go back into icons, type in square. Any square that's all the way filled in, it should work just fine. And we're going to do the same thing as far as the colors go here. I definitely don't want this green, although that could look kind of cool for one of these colorways if we wanted to switch that up and split test things. But for this blue, I'm going to use the Old Glory Blue hex code, which I have here. So I'm going to again copy and paste this and make sure that there's no extra spaces or any characters in here because that will not work as a hex code. So we're going to go to change. We're going to copy and paste this hex code in there. You can see this time only one hashtag. It gave us the exact color we wanted. Hit save, and now we have the American red, white, red, white, and blue. And the white, this all F hex code is just your pure white. So if we go in here and we look at the hex code of this white that we already have selected, it will be all Fs because that is your standard all white hex code. Hey guys, just gonna stop the video real quick and ask if you could do something to help us out, and that's leave a like, leave a comment, or subscribe to the channel so we can keep growing the Wingman University. All right, I'll let you get back to the video now. Let's get to actually assembling this graphic because we have all of our elements now. So what I'm gonna do, again, we're just going for a really simplified American flag. So we're not gonna do all the stripes that we want to or all the 50 stars, but we are going to have the essence of the American flag, and that's what we're really going for here. So I'm gonna line these things up so that we have our lines in place, and a little trick to extend this, since we can't just grab this handle and extend it because that will change the width, is you can just duplicate this out and move it down and just make sure that that's lined up in the position that you want it. So a little extra work, but it definitely gets us where we need to be. And I'll just nudge that in place with my arrow keys. So that way we have our very simplified American flag. But again, that's giving you the essence of this American flag. And so I'm just going to move that up a little bit. And now you guys hopefully can see where I'm going with this. We can just start putting in our text. And if we keep our text white, it will kind of look like the stripes going from white to red. So the way I personally do this is I just duplicate this out 3 times. Whoops. So I'm going to click on my text. I'm going to duplicate it once. And I'm going to duplicate it one more time. And then I just delete out the words that I don't need for each line. So I think I'm going to break this into 3 parts. Something like this. I'm not drunk, I'm patriotic. And so for this first line, all I need is the I'm not. So I'm going to delete those out, hit done. That's going to give me this first part that we can drag and drop on this first line. And I'll resize that in just a second once we have the second part, which is drunk I'm. Hit done here. Drag that in place, and then this last one is just going to be the word patriotic. There's a plethora of different ways to do this, but because I already had the thing typed out, that's how I'm going to fit this all in here. So the next thing I can do is just resize all of these words to make sure that they fit in between each line here. Right now it doesn't look the greatest, but a little trick that I use is to actually use letter spacing. So putting some space in between your letters. Let's say we go to 30 for now, and just see how that looks, and just making sure things are fairly lined up. So this first line we're going to have spaced out a little bit more because there's not as many letters. The second one we can have spaced a little bit less because there are more letters, and then patriotic we can have spaced like all the way across if we want to. A little trick we can also do is just move this down a touch so we can make patriotic a little bit bigger. That way it feels like it's filling up more room. It's not 100% balanced all the way through, but when you're looking at it, it's a little bit easier to read what's going on here. And this one doesn't have to stretch all the way across. So as I'm looking at this, I'm not a huge fan of it stretching all the way across, so we can do something like that. And now that I'm looking at this, I think I'm actually going to change this line because of how many letters are here. So I'm going to cut this out. I'm just going to keep the word drunk here and space that out more so it seems like it fits. And then I'll put I'm patriotic all on one line. So a quick change, but what that's going to do is allow the letter spacing to look a little bit more even. And already I'm liking that more. Drag this out. Yeah, that looks a lot better than having patriotic all the way across, and the spacing in between each letter is a lot more even. Hopefully you guys can see how many different scenarios you could use something like this in. You could put Happy Birthday America. That conveniently fits on 3 lines as well. Now for this box over here, we definitely could just leave that blue, but it's a little boring. And if you remember this design, it had lots of stars and these beer bottle silhouettes that I really liked. So that's going to be the last icon that I pull out, is going to be a beer bottle. But I'm just going to pick the first one here, and we could just do one, but I think what I'm going to do is actually duplicate this out a few times so it fits in place. And before I go and duplicate this, I want to change this to pure white. So we're going to change that, drag this out 3 times, try to align those the best we can, and we can actually group these and get them really aligned where we want them, which I think they're actually good where they're at. But I just wanted to show you guys this example and talk you through how you could use this for more than just this one saying. Hopefully you guys could see that you could stick in whatever you wanted, in this top right or top left square, and you could change the words to be whatever you want. Just as a super quick example off the top of my head, again, we could use that happy birthday one where it says happy birthday. This won't be perfectly aligned, but it's really easy to change this out. And the beauty of Spark is you could just duplicate this out. So you wouldn't even have to make this every time. You could use this one base template, duplicate it out, and change these words as you saw fit. We can hit done on that. We can, again, change the line spacing and all that, but then instead of having beer bottles here, we could delete those out and we could just add like a cake or a candle or something, in this area. So it's really cool to see all the different cases that you can use this exact layout. So we put a piece of cake in here. I'm not saying that this exact design is the one that's sold over the last 3 years, but this idea of being able to replace this top image and the words with whatever you want, it's very simple to do. You just have to do some nudging every time you change the words, but it's not that much work for a really strong layout that has worked so much for these patriotic and especially the July 4th niche. If you enjoyed this content, if you'd like me to share more of the design layouts that have worked for us in our business, you can leave a comment down below. Or if you'd like me to go step by step through Adobe Spark and exactly how you use this program, we also have a course for that linked down below. If you'd like to watch more content here on YouTube, we have these playlists that you guys can check out. But until the next one, I'll see you guys around.